coming at you from Mike's mom's basement.
Mike's mom's basement. How 1990s do we sound? It's July 1st, 2022. Welcome aboard, everybody. Hope you had an outstanding week. You are now listening to Crushing Iron Podcast. This is episode 595.
Yeah, it is. That's a nice number. They're all nice. It
is a nice. They are. If they're done, they're nice. So it is. It's a nice number. We are officially, halfway through the year. And to say, listen, first off, hope you guys have a wonderful July 4th weekend. Enjoy yourself. Take some time off. Hit up the lake. Hit up some barbecues. Set off some fireworks. Keep all your digits. And don't cause too many massive explosions. But have a good time. Relax a little bit. It's one of the slower racing weekends that we just put out our racing roster. So kick back and relax for the season ramps up again. It's your first time tuning in. Welcome. We appreciate you giving us your time. We know you have quite a few options in the triathlon podcast universe and just podcasts in general. Your time is very valuable, so we appreciate you tuning in today. We cover it all. We will do swim, bike, and run specific podcasts. We'll do race recaps and also race previews. But for the most part, Mike and I as coaches, athletes, best friends, we just sit back, relax, have an open, honest discussion about what we're going through personally, both as athletes and coaches ourselves, but also just human beings trying to navigate our way through life. And we'll talk through those. We'll also use the athletes that we work for. We work with, I guess we work for them. Yeah. It's sideway or quick segue. Last night, Hayden was like, "Hey, who's your boss?" I was like, that's a tricky question. He was like, because you. I was like, because you and Mike are partners, right? I said, yeah, I say we're partners, so we don't. I say we don't really kind of have a boss, but we kind of have a whole lot of bosses because the athletes we work for are kind of like our boss, and they think that we're the boss, but we think they're the boss. So it's really an interesting relationship. And about halfway through me explaining that, he was like off, like doing something else, and he couldn't care. But we work with a lot of times we'll use the context and the feedback, text messages. Communication with the athletes we work with to drive the topic of the day. We work with a very wide range from beginner level athletes looking to their first 5K or sprint all the way up through elite level amateurs trying to get back to Kona and everyone in between and from all over. And like I said, we'll sometimes use the feedback with them to drive the topic like we will today. We'll also frequently go into our closed group, which is on Facebook. You can use the search button and go for Crushing Iron Group. Answer one simple question. We'll let you right in. Great community, great resource, a lot of awesome people in there. So don't be a lurker, participate. If you have a question, ask it. You'll get a lot of great answers, a lot of great feedback. And oftentimes confusing sport. It's great to have a resource and great people to surround yourself with. So we'll do Q&As in there sometimes, or just read a comment or a question and go from there with it. Because there's again, it's the pulse of the community of triathlon in general and triathletes. So we're all kind of usually going through something similar or trying to figure out the same thing. We're just still trying to figure out, period. Like you and I are both still trying to figure things out. And like most of you are, we're never satisfied. We're never kind of, happy with where we are. We're trying to always get better. So that's what we do. We don't have any sponsors. We definitely don't do ads, but we do have an agenda. And like you said last week, it's a very important one and sometimes a hard one to help navigate. And that's to do our best to keep you happy and healthy in your endurance sports journey.
Yeah. I was thinking about the number 595 for a podcast. Is that a good bib number for you? What's your best bib number you've ever had? And why?
Ooh,
good.
That's a one. Well, I haven't raced a lot recently, so I don't know that I can.
Can you dust off the archives?
Yeah, I think I had God, dude, I don't even know the best bib number I've ever had. Like I listen, and I think I don't know how you roll this way. I don't keep any of my bibs.
I'm like Ironman bibs.
I don't know. A lot of people keep. Yeah, I don't keep my bibs. I honestly don't really keep the medals either, or the shirts, like except for like a very like. I don't know. I'm not a keeper, if that's even like a thing. I don't keep a lot. I'm not very sentimental with those kind of things. I know it seems like super weird. I still I don't have a lot of my like Ironman medals. I don't even know what I did with them. They just don't. They're not. It's not that they're not important. It's just I don't know. I just not. I just don't keep them. So yeah, I honestly have zero idea what my best bib number has ever been. I'm sure it was an even number. That honestly, the best bib number to have is when you have the closest rack to the bike exit. That's it. That's the best bib number you can have, is the one where it's about location, not just, what number it is. What about you? You remember your best bib number?
I was trying to remember that when I asked that question. I know that the best location I ever had was the exit ramp at Wisconsin that one time. I don't know how that happened, but I got all the way on the other end of the helix, and I just got on my bike and rolled down, and that was huge. But I think I'm trying to think if I ever been in like the 200s, maybe 220, 220 or something like that might have been a good one. But I feel like I'm wearing a swim cap right now with the number 93 on it. Would that have been, I don't know if that was yours that I grabbed, or I don't know, it was just something in my swim bag for years. And
who knows what it was? I think last year, well, I digress. Last year at Ohio, I was on the rack closest to the exit. And that was probably the best spot I've ever had. I was probably like 20 bikes from the exit.
Mm-hmm.
But I have zero idea what my bib number was. I guess you can always look that kind of stuff up, but that's again, something that I don't regularly do. Because it's been a hot minute since I've raced, but yeah, that was a really good place to be. I haven't had any cool ones even numbers, like I got bib 500, or some people get their birthday or something like that. So there's a lot of stuff people get that are bib. Yeah, dude, you got my Ohio cap. I was bib number 93 at Ohio last year. Is that what you just said? I got 93 in your swim cap.
Yeah, that's it.
That's so sweet. Dude, I've been looking for that for the past 6 months. I'm like, where's my Ohio swim cap? That's the reason I'm at swim as much. I was ready to get. I could know.
Hey, it's in the mail, dude. It's in the mail.
My thing from last year.
It's a little crusty. I'm glad you said you don't care much about that stuff.
Yeah. Bib 93.
It's still fast,
that's
though.
What it says.
It's still fast.
It wasn't that fast that day.
For Wisconsin, my first Wisconsin, I think I was bib number 2,897 or something. It was the worst. Yeah, that's the tough one to remember.
Yeah, those are tough ones. We don't usually do outlines for our podcast, but kind of going through Training Peaks this week, as you and I were kind of digging back through, catching up from camp and looking to the future in terms of the rest of the year, the rest of the season. For our athletes, and I think also probably for ourselves, in terms of creating plans and stuff like that and being creative. And I talked about this a little bit on our weekly Zoom call this week too, is I thought it'd be a great time. Again, I had an athlete phone call earlier this morning just talking about, life's always kind of throwing punches at you, and it's always kind of a roller coaster ride. That's one of the biggest, I think, weaknesses that we have as triathletes and honestly just as humans. It's how absolutely horrible we are at being flexible, and how we lack, kind of honestly the core ability just to be adaptive to environments and scheduling. I mean, myself included, I am the worst at changes, period. I'm all about consistency, predictability. I could have the same breakfast, the same lunch, the same dinner. I could be Groundhog Day, period. I'm fine with that. When things change, I'll be honest, it's not. I think you're kind of the same way too. You like things how you like things, and I like them that way for a reason. I go to the same restaurant. What do I get? Exact same thing. I go with the standard. But the fact of the matter is that life is not standard, right? Life is always throwing stuff at us, and it's kind of going through the rest of the year, looking at athletes, especially in the summertime. We were talking before we went live today about how frankly how difficult it's been with Hayden at home in the summertime, and he's only at camp for 2 to 3 hours because he's fairly young, even though he looks like a 14-year-old. He's only there for 3 hours, and he doesn't understand the concept of work. And I'm like, hey, I can't. It's been super, super hard, and this week has been really hard just in terms of our personal relationship. And he just doesn't understand the fact that we have to work because he's been in daycare, he's been in school, and now people always think that there's that working from home is the greatest thing in the world. Yes, does it have its benefits? 100%. Does it have a lot of privileges you don't get out outside of having to go to an office and do things? 100%. But when it comes to separation, understanding that you're at home and home is supposed to be where you are not working, it's super challenging, especially with a kid who doesn't understand it. Hayden, again, daycare, 12 months out of the year, school, and now he's out. And it's wait a minute, why do you have to work? Why can't you play? Why can't you do it? And you get honestly tired of telling him dude, I can't go outside and play right now. I have to work. And then because you cause that, that kind of unhealthy, like you don't want him to think that work's more important. But at the same time, you do have to work. He can understand it. But so it's causing a lot of challenges. And I know a lot of athletes kind of have that the summertime brings with sports, they're a lot of athletes joke that they're sons or daughters Uber drivers. Like all you do is carpool all day long. You drive here, you drive there. Work is changing. You lose a job, you gain a job. You get in a relationship, you get out of it. Life's always changing. And I think what we all struggle with is adapting and using a mold that has worked for us in the past and trying to fit in it. And so I thought today we could talk about being creative with ourselves in terms of the scheduling of our workouts, especially if you're someone who self-coaches, and this is something that we do a lot of times with athletes that come in and they say their job is super chaotic and erratic and they work 4 days and they're off 4 days and they got, 4 days, they got 4 nights, everything is changing. And so the first topic I wanted to kind of touch on was, don't try to fit a square peg into a round hole when it comes to training. And so many of us do that because what's usually happened is at one time you used to be a round hole. And so you're trying to fit, the same thing in the same thing, or you used to have a square peg in a square hole. Things fit perfectly. You could do swims Monday, Wednesday, Friday. You could bike ride Tuesday, Thursday, Saturday. You could run however many days a week you could. And so that's the plan you're comfortable with. That's the plan you're used to. That's the plan that's always worked for you in the past. But then when things change, right? Life changes. Your work is different. You have to travel. The pool's closed certain days. It doesn't work for you to do bikes on this days because you have to take your kid to gymnastics. What do you still try to do? You still try to keep the same plan, right? You're still trying to basically have your training plan butt heads with life, right? Or fit a square peg into a round hole. So the first thing is to understand the peg that you're trying to fit, right? And that is you can't fit life into training. You have to fit training into life.
Yeah. And I mean, there's definitely two types of triathletes with that. I mean, some people are just real flexible and do that, but some people are very measured and they can plan that stuff out. And, I was thinking about that today. I was like, I kind of feel super behind again, but it's sort of like, I feel like if I got up at 4 a.m. like we were during camp, I'd be on top of it, but it's just not my cycle, and so I'm always trying to find that groove. And I do think that that's one of the major things about training is, I think of it in terms of sometimes like when people take vacations and they want to try and keep the same schedule up. But for me, a vacation is a vacation and it should kind of energize you. And there's no need to really try to put in like a, 12, 14 hour week while you're hanging out with your family at the lake, and it's just, I think that's a microcosm of all the time, right? Like depending on what it is, it's like, I always think at least I try to choose the thing that's going to give me more energy, and if it's a tough day and I get busy and I can't work out till, say 7 or 8 at night, I'm not going to go hammer it because I know that'll just start a endless cycle of being tired or whatever. So, I mean, the best thing you can do sometimes is just kind of analyze what's going on and then decide what's going to make you, how's it going to give you more energy instead of like really zap you on a tough day. I know a lot of people work really tough hours and they try to squeeze things in. And, there was a time once when I was in corporate world and one of the best things I ever found was I just kind of sacrificed my lunch break and I'd go swim for 30 minutes. And I try to do that almost every day. And it wasn't like intense swimming, but it really helped me get a good feel for the water. And it just made me comfortable with my swimming. It wasn't anything like too crazy on the intensity, but it was just routine based. And I just kind of like realized that, I'd either go out to, how lunch is when you're working at a corporation. It's just like, hey, let's go get lunch. And you end up spending like $27 on a cheeseburger and, whatever. It's like, so it was worth it to me just to go get a little snack or whatever and get a nice swim in, so I think it's just about adjusting, I guess that's what you mean by square peg in a round hole. Don't try to over jam your days, give yourself a little breathing room.
Yeah. And I love what you said about like, I can go swim or I can go out to lunch and spend $27 on a burger.
Yeah.
Right. It's like, the first thing I thought of was like when you're watching like sports, football, for example, and you talk your team's got the ball, they're on like the 5-yard line, and then they end up, so they could go in and score 7, but they end up fumbling it, right? And then 2 plays later, the other team scores. What they do is they call that a 14-point swing.
Yeah.
Right. Because you're about to go up 7, but instead now you're down 7. And so when you think about things like that and decisions that you make and things that happen, you choosing to, not go swim, but going to get a cheeseburger, wasting your time, probably have a meaningless conversation for an hour, spend $27, it's a 14-point swing, right?
Yeah.
Where you could have gone and gained a touchdown by going to swim.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And so, I always think about, when you set up people for their training plan, or you're writing your own or whatever it is, there's two ways to go about it. You can set yourself up for success or set yourself up for stress. And the set yourself up for stress part usually follows the perfectionist. I have to do this. I have to do this. I have to do that. When all you're doing is you're not chasing perfection, right? You are creating opportunities to fail. And that is one of the main things that you and I both hear when athletes reach out to us is like, listen, I don't know what I'm doing. I'm stressing about what to do or what not to do and when to do it and how much to do it. And then I get so bogged down because I create a plan. And then on Monday, I've got this plan. And then on Tuesday, I haven't missed, I've missed it, or I bought a training plan online and I was perfect for 3 days. Now I'm off. So where am I? I don't know where I'm at. I'm in outer space. I'm in no man's land. What do I do next? It creates so much stress. And what you always want to do is set yourself up for success, right? Like you have athletes, hey, I'm going on vacation, I can bring my bike. And you're like, stop right now. Don't take your bike, take your run shoes, take a set of goggles, be done, right? Set yourself up. Don't be the one in the corner of the living room, on the tile, and you got the old school beach decor with your trainer. And people are like, what is that? And what happens? You ride it one time, right? You put all that effort, you ride it once, maybe. And you know what's happened while you're riding it? Everyone's over the table. They went to the grocery store, got their favorite cereal. They're eating Fruity Pebbles, and they're staring at you like Dad's on his trainer when he could be having, pancakes with us. And then you look over, and what do? You don't feel accomplished. You feel guilty the entire time, right? Makes choices, and that goes for when you're not on vacation, right? During the week, set yourself up for success. Like that is the honestly probably one of the most frequent phrases I know you and I both use with our athletes is, whatever it takes to minimize stress, do it. If skipping your 30-minute run allows you more time to do X, Y, and Z, and that's gonna remove 2 or 3 layers of stress that's been bottling up with you for the week, it's a no-brainer, right? Because most of us, and like you and I both, again, before we went live, that it talked about how stressed we were this week and how hard the week has been. We all live with some level, right? Either a very at the smallest level of stress or a huge level of stress, right? And that affects everything we do. It affects your mood, affects your ability to sleep, affects your ability to recover. Minimize stress. So do whatever you can do whatever that looks like to minimize stress.
Mm-hmm.
The next
hold on a second. I got a quick add to that, if you don't mind.
Yeah.
Just with that bringing your trainer along thing. I think we were up. I can't remember if it was. I know I wasn't racing Wisconsin, but I think I was doing Louisville in October. So I had a 4-hour ride that week, and I brought my trainer to Wisconsin. I think we were staying together in that like corner suite thing or whatever, overlooking the Capitol. Whatever. I brought my trainer up, and I was going to do a 4-hour ride on Saturday. And you know how Saturday is up there before the race. It's all like the farmers markets going on, and everybody's like meeting everybody and everything. And I had that thing up there. And I had a 4-hour ride, and I think I actually accomplished it, but it took me like 3 different times. So I did like an hour, and I go up. It was just ridiculous, and then it just became a hassle to even lug that thing around. It was just dumb.
Yeah, and then you feel guilty because you brought it and you didn't use it.
Yeah, I
mean, most trainers that travel don't get used, right?
I should have just been jumping in that lake every chance I got,
100%.
Yeah.
Number 2, if the usual schedule does not fit for you, find a new one. And what I mean by that is stop looking at your training plan or your week Monday through Sunday. That has become, honestly, it's like one of the most overrated pieces of the creation of a training plan, the creation of your week, or looking how things go from a success to a non-success, is that everything has to be done on a Monday through Sunday scale. That's just not feasible for most people, nor is it the best way to train for a lot of people. So when you look at, and that's why kind of looking at a bird's eye view of things is so beneficial for athletes, is stop looking at Monday through Friday, right? Stuff, because it usually the 3 to 4 days before that and the 3 to 4 days after that are something you can overlap and make adjustments for, right? You can have more time to run these days or not. You can have more time to swim these days or not. What's going to make sense? Stop looking at everything on a 7-day cycle. That's just not how it works, right? And it's the obsession with that, and the obsession with the 3 weeks on and 1 week off and 3 weeks on and 1 week off. That doesn't work for most people. It doesn't work for a lot of people, nor to be honest with you, most people don't need a recovery week because you probably don't do enough work to get 7 days of super easy work unless you've done like 3 huge, or for you, a much higher volume weeks. There are a lot of athletes that you and I both work with that, have such crazy schedules. They get no recovery weeks, none, because they don't have a standard week. They have 3 to 4 day cycles, and we'll talk about that, a little bit later on one of the last points we'll make. But if the usual schedule doesn't work for you, and that's what you see, like with a lot of people, they look online, they purchase training plan. It's all done Monday through Sunday. I hate it. Hate the Monday through Sunday calendar. Look at things 1 through 7, or better yet, 1 through 21, or 1 through 14, or 1 through 30, or 1 through 45. Pick pieces, right? Don't work Monday. It just, this is what you do as a coach is you look, 1 through 30, 1 through 16, you look at pockets of success. Like, all right, this is a pocket here, especially for athletes with a non-traditional, Monday through Friday, 9 to 5 job, predictable, 1 kid or no kids, or they got a plant or a dog, whatever it is. And you look at pockets for success, right? So let's say you're looking at, I'm looking at your schedule, Mike, and I see, all right, there's 1 through 60. We got, 71 days to Wisconsin, 70.3, just throwing that out there. And you look at Mike's schedule and you think, all right, we got a pocket of 3 to 5 days here, a pocket of 3 to 5 days here, 3 to 5 days here where, he's best suited for this. All right, best suited for cycling block. All right, now let's work our way around that. What's going to be best for, swimming here. Okay, got it. Now we do running. Okay, running here. And then you just find ways to take those 3, right? Because it's 3 different disciplines, but one sport. Then how do we kind of blend and bleed those together to make them work and fit? If you do that on a Monday through Sunday, cycle, it doesn't always work, especially when you get into the bigger volume things to do, right? It's just, that doesn't always work for every athlete, and you have to be able to do things differently. For example, Wednesdays. All right, when athletes get into like 70.3 or Ironman training, I a lot of times will use Wednesdays as a long run day. I'll use Wednesday as like maybe a hard run in the morning, hour and 15, hour and 20, hour and 30, and then in the PM, bust out an hour easy. You got 2.5 hours of running in the middle of the week, right? And that's easy to do for most people because they already do like a swim in the morning and a run in the evening, or they do a bike ride. Running is very easy, and it's the most time friendly one to do. And then guess what? Now maybe on the weekend I'll do 2 rides, Saturday, Sunday, maximize time, 4.5 hours a day, 5 hours tomorrow, maximizing, again, based on availability. A lot of times what you can also do is do like little 4-day blocks, like a long swim on a Friday, ride Saturday, Sunday, long run Sunday morning, take Tuesday and Wednesday off. Like there's a lot of ways to not fit in the traditional schedule, but to still get the amount of work. And you have to be creative. And again, remove the, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday obsession, and just remove it and just look at days, because that's what happens the days before and the days after. It's not just about, a 7-day cycle.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And I think with, especially with the way the world is moving with a lot more people working at home and those kind of things, and the scheduling has to be a lot more flexible, and there's opportunities. A lot of people take Friday afternoon off or whatever, and that's a great opportunity for a ride and things like that. So yeah, it's just like, it's just, there's so many moving pieces now with, I think, with the way the schedule of everybody's kind of playing out. I mean, obviously you've seen it, and, when you started, everybody, like, back in the day, everybody just kind of worked, Monday through Friday, and that's just seemed how it would all spin out. But now things are just kind of going upside down. And so I guess it's just a matter of really, you got to be flexible, and you also have to kind of lock in your flexibility a little bit just to know what's going on, and really start. I think it is a sort of a break a habit thing for a lot of people, is just to be able to be like, hey, my Wednesdays, every time I look at them now, they're kind of free up or whatever, like you're saying, good for a double run or anything like that. It's possible.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you gotta be, again, like you said it perfectly. Things are just different, right? They've changed. Everything is, but we're still kind of working on how things have, quote unquote, always been done,
Mm-hmm.
And that's just not the case. And so we keep trying to forge our way in the future by, continuing to live and train in the past, like how we always have. And that's just not the most efficient way to be successful, right?
Yeah.
It's just, but we get caught up being so rigid that you end up, flexing your way into, more success.
Yeah. Weekend ball and soccer, man, those things throw a huge loop into people's, schedules. Travel soccer and all that kind of stuff.
And it's ever changing, and because you don't know what's going to happen, is your kid going to make the team? Are they not going to make the team? Are they going to want to quit and pick up something different? You never know. You got to be flexible. Like we always say, be flexible in the fuck around. Number 3, maximize time and efficiency. Again, this is one of those things, especially for athletes who have huge time restraints, and every second and every minute matters. This is something that I've kind of gone to for some athletes that have, I'll give it, like, the swimming is a huge challenge for a lot of people. It is without question most triathletes' biggest. If you polled all the triathletes on the planet, I'd probably say 70% or more would say swimming is their weakness.
Yeah.
Swimming also provides the largest opportunity of, to swallow up the most amount of your time, right? Because you got to pack your bag. You got to make sure the lanes are open, right? Especially like summer league swim team dominates till like noon on a lot of pools around here every single day. You got to make sure pool is available, right? You got to make sure you got enough time to your session. You got to drive there. You got to walk on the deck. You got to walk in the locker room. You got to get changed. You walk on deck. Guess what? Maybe the lane's not even open. Maybe they're already kind of, circle swimming. Now you got to wait 20 minutes. You got to get in the pool. You got to do your session. That session might last an hour. You got to get out. We're looking at 2 hours for a 1 hour time investment. That's a lot of time to give up, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so what I've started to do with certain athletes is I have stacked a lot more of their bike and run days on the same day, because for most people, again, 80% of athletes do their Monday through Friday, work week rides on the trainer. They just do it. So it's very easy. Their bike's already set up. Their run gear super easy to access. I don't make them do bricks. If anything, I haven't run before, but they can do that all from the ease of and time friendly place of their home. Very easy. You could do an hour and 15-minute hard bike ride, and then a 45-minute run or a 45-minute run before that in 2 hours. You would do all that stuff, and it would still probably take you less time than to do a 1 hour swim session. So if you really have to think about time, but if you're going to make it to the pool, you better make it worth your while. And that is where most athletes really, really falter, is they spend 45 minutes, an hour getting to the pool with all the kind of, extras that takes you to get there and get dressed and get ready to swim. And they just noodle around for 2K. Like, if you're going to make that trip, if you're going to make that time, sometimes make it just your one session of the day, but you better do 3,500, 4,000, and you better make it, because listen, what's 15 more minutes of swimming onto because it's not going to change the drive time, right? It's not going to change the locker room time. You're just going to get in more work, right? And so for most people, they could do, if they're struggling to get the pool 3 days a week or 4 days a week, you could cut one of those off and instead, doodle around for 2K and think that's it. Spend extra time there, right? Get in an extra 1,000, 1,500, do some more, work on your technique a little bit more if you need to, but focus on that. And again, look at your week and think, all right, how can I maximize the amount of time I can get? Because what you also see is opportunity, right? In setting yourself up for success, like we talked about before, is you think, all right, if I got 3 swims this week, God, I don't have time to make it to the pool today, right? Because you think about that hour you're going to spend just getting there, right? Well, if you only have to commit to 2 or maybe a third one on the weekend, right, where you're not so pressed for time, which again, a lot of athletes do. They don't have to swim Monday, Wednesday, Friday. I've got a lot of athletes that swim now like Monday, Thursday, Sunday, sneaking in a Sunday swim after a run or something, because you have to be more time friendly to get people to get the pool. But again, when you get there, use your time. Don't just, again, noodle around for 2K and then wonder why you're not getting faster.
Mm. Yeah, well, I mean, I agree with that, and there's a lot of people like I've been lucky or something because my pool situation is pretty easy, but that said, I have been, like I said, I used to swim at lunch, but now a lot of times I work in my run with my swim, and I'm lucky at this place there's a trail outside, but also it'd be easy to go for me just to go to the pool in my run clothes, hop on the treadmill for 30 minutes, and then deal my swim in, you know. And so I like that a lot. I mean, for me, the swim run combo really feels good. And I mean, it's one of those things where I've been doing run, swim, run every once in a while. I'm still trying to find a groove with things, but I like that combo. You know, I mean, it's pretty easy. Like I've said it before, you know, it's like you can go out, run outside, or you can jump on a treadmill. I think more like a treadmill run every week is not a bad idea, you know, for your ankles and for your body and stuff like that anyway. So, I like that, you know, kind of getting a little lather up before my swim, and, you know, maybe get the legs a little tired or whatever. And then just kind of, it seems to help my swim, and it gives me, you know, I always talk about warming up before the swim anyway. And I think a lot of people don't, they warm up through the swim, which is cool, but a lot of people struggle with getting into a swim groove as it is. And I think, you know, something like getting on a treadmill for 30 minutes before a swim is probably a good idea for a lot of people. I think it might help pump their blood a little bit and give them a little more confidence in the pool to get a better workout.
Yeah, and I love what you said about just kind of looking at what fits you the best, right?
Mm-hmm.
And that's again, like if you're making an extra week or you're creating an athlete's week, some days you don't even pick the workouts, you just picked what the combos that work the best, right?
Mm-hmm.
Some days, you know, it's a bike and a run, it's a swim and a bike, it's a run and a swim. Fill those in first, then kind of go back and think, all right, now what does the workout need to look like to complement each other and the rest of them? It's just it sounds complex, but it's really not. Like if you know the order in which to, you know, insert and plug things in, then it's always about kind of working your way backwards, right? Instead of kind of, again, forcing something into something that's not going to fit, right? Because it's kind of like, you know, we started off with saying, you know, don't try to fit a square peg into a round hole. But what if the square peg is already inside the round hole, right? And now all you got to do is whittle the square peg to make it more circular to get out. And that's what most athletes have to do when they look at their training is, all right, I know what I want to do. I know what I have time for. How do I make it fit, right? But instead of just trying to jam it and getting frustrated. So, it's a great example of kind of look what time and what flow and what combo works best for you. And it might not be the same every day, and it might not be the same every week. Right. And that comes down to, again, being flexible and just communicating, you know, with your coach or understanding your training plan better or just being flexible. The fourth one is, and I kind of touched on this, I think in number 2, is work in microcycles that also fit the big picture. And microcycles are basically very short periods of time, like 2 to 3 to 4 day blocks, right? That fit. And a lot of athletes have schedules like that. Now their shift change or their shift workers 4 days on, 4 days off, or they work, you know, in the hospital system, right? They get 2 or 3 days here, and then they get on call, and then everything is, like you said, everything's different now with working. Whether you go to work or you don't go to work, it's still different, and it's still really challenging to figure those things out. But that's when, kind of like I said before, you look at areas of opportunity. I was talking about, you know, looking at your bird's eye view from like 45 or 60 days. You look at our opportunities to, you know, ride heavy or run heavy or swim heavy. Because they don't have to. It doesn't have to always be balanced in the 7 day a week span. Oh, I got to get 3 swims in this weekend. I got to get four bikes, or I got to get, you know, 5 runs in. Look at them in spans, right? In blocks of 2, 3 to 4 days, because then you're going to have some rest days and they're going to overlap. So look at, again, if you have that ability, you have that kind of, or that is restraint, look at microcycles, right? I've got quite a few, you know, men and women who take like 2 to 3 days off in a row because they have to for the job. They work 24-hour shifts. They don't have time. So the 3 to 4 day blocks that they do have, we work pretty hard, right? Mm-hmm. You get a lot of volume in, then they recover. They get a lot of volume in, then they recover. And a lot of people, like, they don't want to do that because they feel like they have to spread it out really evenly. But it's always about intensity and duration, and then how much you're applying or removing stress. You know, some people kind of get caught up in, well, you know, I can still run the days at work. I can still do that. I'm gonna get up extra. So you're gonna get extra early, right? Or you're going to try and work out, you know, run for an hour and 15 minutes on your 24-hour shift where you might be going on 3 hours of sleep just to get into session that day. You're going to be shelled, right? So then the 3 or 4 days you have off, guess what? you're screwed, at least for a day, right? Until you catch up with sleep and your stress minimizes and you feel fresh enough to actually work out, right? It's like, it kind of going back to the vacation thing we kind of joke about. People are always like, go on vacation, man, load me up. You're like, wait, have you never been on vacation?
I know.
It's sometimes more stressful, right? To go on vacation, you're like, when am I going to go home? You don't know where you're going to eat. Your food's all out of whack. Your sleep's all out of whack. You're running around doing things. People are usually more stressed when they do that, but they think because they're not working or doing whatever, all of a sudden things just become, super, super easy. And that's just kind of one of those things where you have to look at, a little 3 to 4 day blocks, and sometimes just do that, 3 to 4 day block here, 3 to 4 block here, and just make that to where it's how you work for yourself, right? And how you set yourself up for success instead of, again, going back to setting yourself up for success or setting yourself up for stress.
Right. Yeah. I mean, those kind of things, obviously that's a microcosm of the whole big picture, like you're saying. And, it's like peaking, when you get into a race, sometimes you just like have to go hard for a little bit and then you got to get recovered, and it kind of goes in cycles like that. So I'm all about, because, the other thing is like, taking a day off or 2 days off, everybody, it's like we get in our heads, I think that, that's going to just like throw us way behind the eight ball. But when in reality, it might be the best thing we need, to take a couple days to recover, because we talk about all the time, like rest and recovery and sleep. That's where the real work is being done. So if you're not getting that and you keep pouring it on over and over, I mean, if you're doing your first Ironman, you got like this weird sense of inspiration and fear and everything going. But like, if you're trying to be in the sport for a long time, you got to take it, slow at times. You got to be thinking about, hey, how can I make this go for a long time and really enjoy it, rather than keep digging holes over and over and over and never get out, and like creating like a terrible macro cycle, I guess. It's just sort of always trying to figure it out. Sometimes it's just like you're saying, it's as simple as taking a couple days and then fitting things in when you can do them. And it just so it makes much more sense, and it takes a big load off of you as you're doing it.
Yeah. And again, like you said, it's all about taking the load off. And the last one, and we kind of make these more of a combo, is number 5 is understand your limitations, then maximize your availability, and then align with expectations. And that is when it comes to scheduling. And I kind of mentioned this in my Zoom call on Wednesday, was, like I've always been a guy who responds really, really, really well to just a lot of volume. I just always have. I'm a volume guy, whether it's because, I was just kind of formulated that way from swimming, 20,000 yards a week, growing up swimming year round or whatever. That's always how it's been. That's what gets my best result. I just don't have that time anymore. So you have to be creative in trying to at least get as close as you can to that result or that benefit in less time, but at the same time, and this is again a very, very difficult things for athletes to do, align that with an expectation. Right. Yeah. Because your expectation, and I'm not saying put PRs on the shelf. That's not what I'm saying. But I'm saying understand and be objective, right? And just super honest with yourself that, all right, listen, I know last year, people took, as much as people boohooed and bemoaned 2020 and how quote unquote hard it was, a lot of people also didn't really take into account how much easier it was in a lot of ways, right? To be at home and be flexible and not have to travel, and things weren't, certain things weren't expected of you, and you didn't have to rush your kids around to this and that and this and that, and now people are still kind of like deer in the headlights, like, oh shit, life's back to normal. Like I'm behind. I got used to just chilling in my PJs all day long and working out whenever I wanted to, and not having to swim because the swim was closed. It wasn't even an option. And then now it is an option. Now I got to make time to go do it. And at the same time, like my kids are back in 3 sports and I'm traveling in for my job. And like, wait a minute, I'm running on the chicken with you, my head cut off. But I really want those same results. I really want to still train 16 hours a week. I'm like, dude, that's not feasible. So again, I'm not saying put your expectations fully, or the anticipation of getting better on the shelf. I'm not saying that. But I'm saying if you don't have the time to train that you used to, be creative and try to figure. That's the beauty of our sport, right? Is there's always something else to figure out, right? There's always another way to get better if you're willing to explore that. That was kind of number 6, is just be creative. Don't be afraid to be creative. Don't try to see if you can get the same, because right, we always use the phrase like minimal effective dose. The job of a coach and the job for any self-coached athlete isn't to find the most hours they can use to get their best performance. It's to find the least amount of hours, right, to get the biggest benefit. Same thing goes with things like intensity. Is an hour and 15-minute run going to get me the same benefit as an hour and 25-minute run? Probably. So let's do an hour and 15, right? So, is this level of intensity on the bike going to get us, is 0.82, intensity factor on the bike going to get us the same benefit for this athlete as 0.88 to 0.90? Maybe, right? Then choose the lower one. But as athletes, we always assume that more and harder equals better, right? And faster. That's not the job. The job is to figure out the least amount you can do to get the best result, right? And then again, like I said before, and just be honest with yourself and answer those questions honestly, and then figure out the best path forward, and then be happy with it, right? And be man, like, I did really, really well on this little bit of training. Like going back to Ohio when we were joking about the bib number thing. Like I was initially disappointed in my 70.3 race. So I did a 4:41, which is my slowest 70.3 in a while. But if I looked back at my training, I was like, well, you barely swam, check. You only averaged like 7 hours a week of training for 8 to 12 weeks, check. All things I've never done in the past that have always been fewer, right? Much less swimming, much less volume. And I was still within I think 7 minutes of my PR. I mean, and it was a hard day too. The dew point was insane. It was really hot. Okay, there's a lot to be happy about there, right? What is it? Is that 7 minutes of race time? Would I and could I change averaging 14 more weeks, right? So 5 hours a week. So finding, 40 more hours to train, over 12 weeks, 40 more, 2 days, to train, taking more time to the pool. That takes time. Is it worth the 7 minutes? Nope. Nor could I have found it, and so just little things like that where but again, as coaches, we can say that. As athletes, we have a hard time because we always feel like no matter what, under any circumstance, regardless of the situation, we should always be getting better as long as we're participating in triathlon year after year after year.
Well, this one is right up my alley, man. Because I don't be afraid of doing something different. I feel like that's all I do is kind of try to, I mean, I just try to create different, what I was talking about earlier about how, for me, if I go for a run, for example, before my swim is better. I'm ready to get into my swim and go after it. And for me, I'm not a volume guy like you. I like to get in and kind of get out. But I know if I'm not ready to swim and I'm kind of noodling around and trying to warm up and I never really quite find my groove or whatever, and I'm not going as far as I could or should, it doesn't turn out to be the best workout for me. And the same thing goes with for me, it's and I always try to impress on the athlete this, if you have an hour and a half trainer ride a couple times a week, for me, I'd rather see you go after, cut out a little bit here. For me, it's easy to cut. I'm a lot more comfortable on the bike than the swim, for example. So I can get on it and kind of get into it and go for it a little bit. And if I have to shorten my warm up a little bit and shorten my cool down or whatever, or just eliminate it sometimes, I feel really good after, if I go after it really hard for an hour, like you're saying, you cut a little bit here or maybe 110 or something like that instead of 130, but really get it in. For me, I'm going to be a lot better off if I can do that consistently rather than missing a whole day because I know I can't do an hour and a half or I don't feel like it or whatever it may be. But you can adjust like that. Where is your strengths too, right? Like on a run, I feel like I can usually loosen up a little bit faster on a run than I can a swim. Same type of deal. So I'll go out and maybe if I have some intervals, I might just get to them a little bit quicker. And, but I always think about it in terms of negative splitting. I don't come out of the gate and just go after my first one like it's the hardest thing ever. But I like to build up and I'm a really big fan of finishing a workout feeling really strong. rather than just like working myself into oblivion. Because it's like you said, especially like if a 70.3 or something, if we had that one podcast about being in the ballpark, and that's my thing is like, if I'm in the ballpark, I know in a race, we talk about mental stimulation and being engaged and things like that. And like I always talked about before, I kind of depend on race day energy of the, the crowd and the support and all that kind of stuff. So I know that's sort of there. So I can kind of finagle my way into that area where I know I'm about ready, and then, take my chances on race day. But I don't know. Like for me, that's just, I want to feel good and do it in a way that isn't going to create more stress in my life. So I really love, like I said, to finish these workouts feeling strong, and rather than just kind of pound out an extra half hour, just because I have to or whatever, when I know it's going to really dig a hole. So creativity and like sort of adaptability and flexibility is always on my mind when I go. And the same goes the other way, like there's been times when I've gotten in the pool, like before camp, I got in the pool when I was going to go like 35, 40 minutes just to kind of do some stuff. And I ended up staying in there an hour and 5 minutes because I felt good. You know what I mean? I knew that it wasn't going to destroy me. And I was like, I'm really enjoying this, so I'm going to keep going. So it's just like, it's a sliding scale. I feel like, the rigidity of staying to a particular workout, I think, coaching we've talked about before is we all have this memory from childhood when we go, like you go to the pool. Like I was over there at my pool the other day, I was walking Maddie, and they had a swim team was down there practicing, and they just kept going. And I was watching them. She's like, all right, 325 flies fast right now or whatever. It's just like going and going and going. It just kept going. But that's our impression, right? Like you can't leave, swim practice really. I mean, or you just walk away from the team or whatever. But like you have to keep doing it. But so we have that memory in our mind. But now we're doing it for ourselves. So some days you may want to have a longer swim practice, and other days it's not going to work or whatever. So stuff like that, I think it's really important for people, because we're adults and we have lives and we have all kinds of stuff going on. And like we always say, this is a hobby. It's something we do for fun. Figure out ways to make it fun.
It's your life.
Mm-hmm.
Like so many athletes get stuck trying to do everyone else's workout, everyone else's distance, everyone. I mean, that's why I absolutely despise the race specific Facebook group threads, because when you see, what, everybody comment, what was your workout this weekend? Then you see all the ridiculous, like, I did a 1 hour bike ride, then a 10-minute run, then a 1 hour bike ride, and a 10-minute run, then and you're like, what are you doing? It sounds like substitute teacher busy work. Like, did you get a worksheet or a ditto? Like, that's what it sounds like. Other than you see people doing like, I did like a 120-mile bike ride in a 15-mile run off the bike. I'm feeling pretty good. I'm feeling pretty ready for race day.
Yeah.
Always go back and check those people's because they're not what you would think. Like that's not what you do. But if you see that, or you see somebody who's on the leaderboard for volume this week, right? So do me a favor, right? Next time you see somebody like, let me do the volume for the week, there should be a simple calculation, right? I'm sure there's a lot of really brilliant people that listen to this podcast, because you want to listen to something that makes you feel more like a human by listening to us two guys. But do like a correlation of like, or a calculation that says, all right, you trained 228 hours for 70.3 time. That got you this time, and then you can basically like, allocate training hours versus every minute that you had on the race course. And you will see, what you want is, the fewest minutes and hours training gets you, a specific number of minutes and hours on the race course. That's low, right? You want, low, you want low training volume, low hours. They equal a low and a fast race time. If both are super high, 500 hours and then, a 1630 or 1650, finish time, or, a 7.5 hour, 8 hour, like, okay, what am I doing that might not be right? Am I running myself from the ground? Maybe I can minimize my training time to get a better and faster result, or maybe I won't, but maybe I can at least get the same result with less hours. And then what can I do with those hours? It's my life, right? Spend more time with your spouse, spend more time with your kids, go read a book, sleep in more, live longer, like all these things. Like there should always be a simple formula in our head, like, well, how is this benefiting me and why? And if you can do that and you can be objective about it, you can really truly set yourself up for success. Like, those are the conversations we should be having, not, I work 7 days a week, I only sleep 5 hours, and I'm working the 80-hour week. What? No, that's not what you're supposed to do either. Like, that's why, people are always kind of gravitating towards the 4-day work week, and how much can you get done? And like, that's the difference, right? Of, I can sleep when I'm dead. Well, that's going to come a hell of a lot sooner than you think with that attitude like that. And that's where we've gotten to, right? Or, people's badge of honor is a 20-hour training week or 25 hours. Like, that sounds like you're driving yourself into the ground.
Mm-hmm.
You're driving yourself into the ground. Cut it by a third and enjoy it. Don't be grumpy. Get more sleep. Be better recovered and train. Don't just exercise your way through sessions because you're shredded. Like, that's just, you can't do that to yourself. And so many people have that obsession with other people's training, other people's lives, and you try to fit that into your own. Like, stop that. Match it to yourself, right? And if you can do that, you won't just be more successful, you'll also be happier. And that is the name of the game. Happier and faster. And make that your goal and figure out a way to do it. And again, like we said, be creative in trying to do it. Don't just kind of, doing the same thing over and over and over and over again.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I wonder how many times people don't get their Ironman result because they are just flat out exhausted from the training season.
I'll tell you this. More DNFs come from over preparation than under preparation.
Oh, yeah.
Don't at me. I think that's what the kids say.
Don't at me.
Don't at me. Don't at me. Most Ironman DNFs or slower times come from over preparation, quote unquote, overtraining. I won't say over preparation isn't the right word. From overtraining / preparation, and doing it the wrong way versus being undertrained. 100%. 100%. Again, like the kids say, don't at me. Because it's true. And the people that want to at me or feel, triggered because that's them, they did 6 1 out, they did 620-mile bike rides with, 18-mile runs off the bike and just can't fathom why they didn't get faster and why they were so burnt out on race day they had nothing else to give. Listen, that's just the fact. It's not about being underprepared. It's about being appropriately trained, right? Appropriately trained. Give me a appropriately trained, fast 70.3 athlete who gets 4 weeks to train and get ready for an Ironman. Give me that person over the overtrained, overprepared athlete who's done 7 120-mile bike rides and multiple brick runs and a couple 3.5 hours. I don't want that. Don't give me that athlete. I don't want him. I won't pick him ever.
Sharp
give me the other
and fresh,
because I guarantee you they will. The 73. Yeah, it won't even be close. And it's just this huge misconception in the training and how people do it. And like, there's such a better, smarter way to do things. And it's not rocket science. We're not the only ones that do it. So many other people do it. It's just when you get these books and training plans that they just shove duration and mileage and time down your throat. It's like, it's a recipe for disaster for a lot of people. Maybe the one person that can handle, but the rest, it's just, you're running them into the ground.
Yeah. And you don't want to do that.
No. Just like we ran this podcast in the ground, went overtime today, or a little bit. We're close to it. We won't be working overtime this weekend. We'll be taking it off. We'll come to you probably next Tuesday. We'll enjoy our July 4th just like the rest of you. We don't usually get bank holidays, but this is a U.S. holiday, so we'll take it off. As always, go to our website, c26triathlon.com. It's our one-stop shop for all things coaching, camps, and community. And if you're looking to coach the rest of the year to maybe help you out and clear out the cobwebs and create less chaos and remove the stress, check out the coaches tab and find the one that's right for you. And as always, if you need anything from Mike, he's available, crushingiron@gmail.com. And if you need anything from me specifically, I'm available, c26coach@gmail.com.
Yeah. Are you doing fireworks?
No, I'm not a big firework guy.
Yeah, me either. I'm going to watch some, I think.
I mean, I find that shock. But yeah, I'm just like, Halloween and fireworks. I'm like,
you seem like a guy that would stock up at the corner fireworks stand. I'll
be the guy in the corner of the driveway with with a sparkler. Give me a sparkler and a good barbecue, and I'm fine. I could care less about the fireworks. They're just loud. I know I sound old. They're just loud. They're bright. They're loud. They're bright. They're loud. That's it.
And they're gone in seconds, and they're very expensive.
Exactly. They're
I
gone
mean,
second.
when I moved to Chattanooga, the first people I met, I was just kind of living in this temporary place, and they're like, "Hey, we're going to get fireworks. Let's do it." I'm like, "Shoot them off the roof." I'm like, "All right, I'll go with you." These dudes spent like $1,000, and they launched off a hell of a fireworks show, but it was like 20 minutes. I was like, "Dude, $1,000, it's just gone." It's like,
don't need. No thanks. No, I'll be kicked back. I'll watch a little Formula One this weekend.
There you go.
I'm gonna watch a little bit of Wimbledon. Watch a little Tour de France. It started today, and I've got, I think, 2 more days of recaps for the FINA World Championships to watch swimming. So I'm set. I've got a lot of good sports to watch this weekend. None of it includes baseball.
Yeah. I like how you're kind of going away from the team sports.
Yeah, I know. I got those days are coming, and I'm not really looking forward to it.
But
whatever.
Do you know who's joining did you see who's joining the Big Ten?
Oh, God, who cares? Oh, yeah, I did see that. Yeah, USC and UCLA.
Yeah. Like, what?
It's like totally irrelevant.
Man, my hammer's out and that coffin is getting nailed shut. Close. I can't deal.
And both schools are irrelevant. I'm just going to tell you. West Coast college sports, irrelevant. I'm just going to, that's going to ruffle some feathers, but it's irrelevant.
I just don't, I'm like.
It's the truth. It's the truth. They're just looking for money. They're not going to win any national championships. And UCLA, what? They even have a football team?
Come on. I mean, they're all right, but I just, why are we going to add LA to the, Midwest? It's like, I thought they hated us. We're flyover states. Why do they even care?
Yeah, that's true. Well, it's kind of like when you look at the NFL conferences, you're like, why is this team in the AFC South? They're in the North.
Yeah,
right? It's
well,
like the Dolphins, or the Dolphins AFC East. And you look at some of the teams in across the country, like, why are you in this conference?
Yeah,
doesn't make any sense to me.
I can't wait for that UCLA Rutgers Big Ten clash. That's going to be something else.
It won't score any points. Anyway, we'll talk about college football in August, and you guys can listen to all that then. Until then, enjoy your 4th, enjoy your weekend, stay happy and healthy, and we'll catch you next week.
All right, that sounds like a plan. See you, buddy.